it would be very hard to like get rid of us.
We're easy. Like,
But
at
you know,
some
like,
point,
not
if they just get on the
not
right track.
That is the beginning
mean-
of a horror movie right there.
I just mean no. I just mean that there's like nothing that somebody could do to sort of turn a 2 off from helping them.
It's really difficult for me to see where I'm doing something in service of myself because I don't see it. Like, I really can't see that I'm being self-serving because I'm not usually doing that intentionally.
The big hormone enneagram.
Hi, it's John here. I'm a sexual self-pres 4 or 5 8 tri-type.
Hi, David here. I'm a self-pres sexual 9 with a 1, 9, 7, 4 tri-type.
Hey, it's Emeka. I'm an 8 wing 7 sexual type with the 854 type.
Hey, it's Nancy. I'm a self-pres social 3, wing 4, and 369 tri-type.
There's John. He's the anti-sweet.
Anti-sweet is here.
Nah, he can be sweet.
I'm a little sweet.
Little sweetie.
Got that line of 2.
That's
I
true.
got a little line of 2. So does
A little bit.
What are we doing here?
We're talking about 2s.
We're
Yeah,
talking
help.
about 2s. Do the 2s need help for once?
Yeah, do y'all need any help?
What can we
we
do
would
for you?
never tell you if we needed help. We'd just be disappointed that you didn't know already.
Well, let's break it to you now. We don't know what you need.
Welcome to Big Hormone Enneagram. We're here to drag 2s. With
mean
us
celebrate
today,
us.
we celebrate. Sorry,
Show us some
we have
love.
2 lovely 2s. We have the returning champion Laura,
Oh, I'm a champ. Thanks.
and my friend Alex Giroux.
Giroux.
Excuse me. And if you all could just like say a little about yourselves and your type and all that kind of stuff.
So I'm Laura Schilling. I'm a social sexual 2 wing 1 278.
I'm Alex Giroux. I am a 2 wing 1 self-pres sexual social blind.
So what we've been doing lately is we have been interviewing people of specific types and getting into sort of the inner experience of what it's like to be those types and what the inner dynamics are. And I sort of feel like we started with 9s, we did 6s, we did 4s, 5s, 8s. And one of the things I like to talk about is how people generally perceive certain types in the Enneagram field at large, because I feel like that the Enneagram field at large is very superficial, and there tends to be so many like honestly dumb biases and perspectives. And so one of the weird things about 2s is that on one hand, 2s can kind of be ignored, or like you know, when you say like the helpful, loving, giving type, it's sort of like, okay, I probably know somebody like that. And at the same time, there's also a kind of way that 2s get dragged on, because I think that, I mean, we've all probably experienced unhealthy 2s, but also I think that people are cynical about people who feel or are expressing like love and goodness. Like, it's hard for people to imagine that it's not
Bullshit.
totally, yeah, exactly, totally bullshit. And you know, when it comes to the 2 personality, you get that kind of conflict of where is the line between what you call like authentic love and where is it about me, and is there a difference, and what's the conflict there. So, you know, 2s represent the warmth, the connectedness of the heart. They're a heart type, and so there's a big emphasis on being available to other people, or being in support of what is like good, or caring for other people. And they have different ways that each individual 2 understands being giving and loving. And but what's often not understood about 2s is that they're not all just take it all. You know, they're not just all out there. Like, 2s have a lot about them that is, you know, gifts and personal qualities that are often underemphasized in a lot of descriptions about 2s. You know, within the Enneagram of personality, there's a big piece of the puzzle for each type is what's called the passion, which is like passion meaning suffering. So the suffering for type 2 is called pride. And the way I understand pride, at least, is that, twos, they feel unworthy of being loved. And there's a natural sensitivity to what is lovable or good or, something worthwhile in other people. But they have this amazing sensitivity to it in others, but they have a very difficult time seeing that in themselves. And so there's a way that they feel like they have to earn it or be loving to be loved. And so what happens is that pride shows up as this way that I kind of overemphasize and have pride in my good intentions. And I feel like I have to kind of push away my negative or selfish or self serving intention. And when I'm not accepting myself, when I'm not in a healthy space as a two, it can kind of lead to a split in my personality where I'm so aware of my good intentions and my loving intentions, but I'm not always aware of where I'm managing my image or how I'm not really owning my needs and how I'm unconsciously using my lovingness and relationships and my talents to try to get them out from other people, get love from other people. So, in this series of interviews with people, we've been trying to get at what's the heart of each type and what's the struggle and the experience. And all four of us want to know more about the two of y'all and how you experience two-ness.
My thing, I mean, I resonate a lot with what you're saying. And I still, every time pride is mentioned, I literally deep cringe. It makes me feel awful to be prideful. But I notice, I mean, through years of trying to be self aware and trying to work on myself, because I know I don't work on myself that much, I base a lot of who I am on how I've helped other people grow. Like my main sense of self is growth and learning and forward momentum with people. And I always feel like if I can help someone else get their goals achieved, they'll be able to do the same to me, or they'll have this like need to be like, hey, you really helped me. Like, thank you. It sounds so lame to say out loud, but
Nah,
I feel like if I just keep giving in the specific way that people need or noticing nuance and how they could improve. And granted, for a quick sidetrack, sometimes that's me putting it on people. And I acknowledge that in hindsight. Maybe they are fine where they are and they don't need my fucking help because they certainly didn't ask for it. But I feel like my intention is good. And I really struggle sometimes with people being able to receive my intention and know that my help is coming from a good place, but also respecting me enough to say, hey, actually, fuck off. I don't need help with this, instead of letting that boil under their skin.
that's
It's like, if,
interesting. Respecting you enough to set boundaries.
yeah,
I
because it's
think
really easy for me to jump all over them.
in my experience of twos, at least, sometimes it's been difficult for me to know that, like, sometimes I can feel that their heart is so sensitive that if I set a boundary, it would hurt them, and it creates this sort of I don't know what the term would be, but like a situation where for the relationship to be better, you have to set a boundary. But if you set a boundary, it's going to crush them, and so you kind of just have to withdraw because you don't really know how to navigate.
Oh, that's the saddest. I
Yeah,
feel like boundaries are a tempestuous thing because once you put up a boundary, I mean, my gut reaction is, ooh, there's something here. Let's dig into what this could be triggering for this person so I can figure them out more. I mean, I'm
Penetrate the
very,
boundary, in other words.
kind of just get past it. Yeah. But in a way, I feel like, and Alex, I don't know if you feel the same way, but I feel like me respecting my friends or my connections is helping slightly surpass their boundaries so that they know that they're safe and that they're loved and that they're supported, and that this person who I may or may not know to a varying degree has actually done something really good or special or unique or whatever.
I think in a weird way, I've created boundaries for people as a way to sort of avoid having people set boundaries from me. So
Mhm.
I don't often seek other people. And I think this has something to do with my social blindness. I don't have a lot of interest in the kind of, this sounds bad and I don't think that you mean it this way, the meddling and how and sort of seeing what they could do or they could achieve with your help or with my help or whatever. I sort of wait and try to have them come to me if possible. That wasn't always the way. I've talked to John so much about this and how annoyed I am that I'm a fucking 2. I fucking hate it.
Oh,
And
I
so
feel you.
I think that in the sort of the way that I've embodied that and worked through it is paying attention to my reasons for wanting to help. And is it because I want a thank you? Is it because I want someone to return the favor eventually? Is it because I'm trying to manipulate them into something that I want? Or is it because I am being asked, or I can help and I can quietly help, which is really hard.
This is really interesting because it's like 2 coming from the opposite ends of the social spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
With like, I've never imagined what a social last 2 is like, and with Lori, what you're saying, it just comes across hyper involved with people. Like the assumption is that you are swimming in potential connections and how you could steer those connections to
Which
a
is so
path of
nice.
yeah.
I don't think that that's necessarily true. Like, just to quickly.
Well, just the impression. I'm just sort
Oh
of
yeah. Okay.
telling you what it feels like to me, that you are surrounded by people and you are helping this person grow and helping this person grow. And Alexandra feels like she's in a corner somewhere, and every now and then somebody drifts close to her who needs help, and she's like, "Oh, I'm here to help you if you need it." So it's really
Yeah.
interesting to see the contrast there of the different instinctual strategies of 2.
One thing, I mean, Alex and I have spoken at length, is the sort of energetic contradiction between her stacking and her main type.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, just what I experience with you, Alex, is that like you can have that self-pres sexual inaccessibility to you. And then there are certain times where that breaks down and you're very effusive or you're very emotional or something like that. But then it kind of like you can kind of put the boundary up again. It's a very interesting conflict of energies, the instinctual energy and the type 2 energy. And I'm sure David could say more about self-pres sexual, but as we've talked about it, it's that like kind of underground kind of energy.
I'm just curious what that expresses as in terms of your drive, Alex. Like, my drive in comparison is growth and learning. Are you able to talk about what kind of motivates you?
What motivates me is my personal safety. What motivates me is that, for sure, keeping myself safe, staying happy. But I do have a motivation that I do want to be of use to others. I do still have like a deep need to be where I'm wanted and to have that sort of two-ness. But with the social blind, I fucking hate everybody. I hate everybody. I hate going to parties. I hate like going to shows. I hate meeting new people. But it's complicated because in the same moment, I would do anything for them if they asked me to. So
Wow, that sounds really tough.
it's very contradicting. It's weird because I've told John this, that I feel like every time I meet somebody, 3 things happen. Either they forget me immediately, they hate me, or we become very good friends. And so with my social blindness, I could give 2 fucks about that. But with my 2-ness, I'm like, everybody should like me, and like I'm a good person and I'm lovely and this should be great and we should all be friends. But it's just not sustainable. I can't fully embrace that kind of big 2 energy with the stacking and stay sane.
I feel like that big 2 energy, like I identify deeply with being a 2, but I know that not everyone's going to like me. And definitely when I was younger, that was the shittiest thing ever. But maybe it's just a maturity piece, but I know not everybody's going to like me, but damn, do I need to know why they don't like me?
Yeah.
If there's like okay, I get it, I'm at peace with it. But if someone doesn't like me and I don't know, and I think that they like me, oh, it's the worst.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
It would
for
be
sure.
nice to not give a shit.
One of the interesting things is that Alex is partners with one of my oldest friends who is a social sexual for the 5 wing.
Fuck me up.
And so like you know, he's got this weird social charisma that freaked me out for a while. I thought he had a 3 wing for a while because it was just like he can turn it on. And so, he's this weird, likable 4 with a 5. And then here's Alex, this sort of weirdo 2 with a 1.
It's an inversion of each other.
Totally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It reminds me, like, the podcast episode that just went live was the one we did with 2 social 5s, and just hearing them talk about how they pursued relationships and connections in this really modular, compartmentalized, antisocial way, and sort of hearing Alexandra talk about how she's a 2, but she's highly antisocial. It's really interesting to see how some of the types that are really like 2 is really about connection and penetrating people into people's hearts. And so without social, I guess we can really see what is really 2, because there's a lot of overlap with what people think is the social drive. And with the 5s last week, to see what is the social drive in a type that avoids and detaches away from people.
I just feel like
Yeah,
it'd be so tough for you, Alex. Like if people don't come into your corner where you want to help them, how do you feel satiated? Like you're just cool to chill there? I don't know. It's
Well,
so perplexing. I'm trying to wrap my head around it.
well, like John said, my boyfriend is a nightmare, so he keeps me busy. I feel like I'm constantly saving his life every 2 seconds. So
I have a
might
story
have
when
a-
you're done. I don't mean to interrupt you.
I might have if I can interrupt and explain what your life is like, Alex.
please.
Even though we've never met.
Philosophers of the universe could do that.
So like with SPSX, this is me just kind of putting the pieces together, and I'm friends with since elementary school with an SPSX 2 with a 3, and one of my long-term time friends was also SXSP 2 with 3. Anyway, it's partly with SPSX and 2. You kind of said it earlier, it's like just getting the supplies of the invitations, right? Like if I've got a stack of invitations, that's me, and my stuff is my invitations to the party, right? To the parties, right? They want me, so that's enough. I got enough stuff, right? And so it's kind of that SPSX involvement in itself, kind of curling into itself, and that kind of self-prezi combined with 2. Those are the things that I want. The self-prezi, I want those. I want to be wanted, and then that's enough, and then I can just be in my corner and be wanted.
Yeah, totally. I think that I've sort of designed my life in a way that I, study herbalism. I'm certified in Reiki. I'm a performer. Like I have my little things that I can do to sort of exert that 2-ness. And then I can access it in a way that keeps my social or anti-socialness also there.
Reiki's a good SPSX 2.
Yeah, and when to answer your question, Laura, when I don't have, like, if I feel like I'm sort of stewing and I don't have a place to put it, I've learned to like try to put it back in myself, which usually just means like watching fucking Tiger King and then feeling more depressed than I was. But like, right, like just starting to try to figure out how to like replenish these sort of 2 waters that we're in.
So one time, like I usually go to bed around.
Is this the cayenne pepper story, John?
Oh yeah, definitely. So
I'm excited.
I thought this was great. This is like, at least for me, there are certain experiences that exemplify certain people, that just stick out as like the experience that in some way defines your experience with somebody else, and that are sort of surreal. And so normally I go to bed at like 4 or 5 in the morning, but I had to go to bed early for something. And I woke up at 3 something in the morning, and my friend Reed was in the shower, in his underwear and stuff, but his leg he was drunk as fuck and bleeding all over the place.
Oh God.
And Alex was putting cayenne pepper in his wound. He'd like gotten drunkenly like stepped through a mirror in his room somehow and like deeply cut his calf, and it was like so weird. But she was like stuffing all this like shit into his wound, and it was like what you're speaking to earlier of like it was exemplified, like taking care of this person in this strange organic self-pres sexual way.
Yeah, that night I had just taken my melatonin. I was very excited to go to sleep, and I got a text message from him that was like, "Oh, I broke my mirror and I'm bleeding, but I think I'll be fine. I'll go to bed." And so I fucking ran over there. He's got this massive cut on the side of his leg, and cayenne pepper stops bleeding, and
I
it's
had no idea.
antibacterial, antimicrobial. It's like very good for that. Of course, your house, John. There's fucking nothing there.
Yep.
So cayenne pepper it is, and then we wrapped a maxi pad around it, and then like a tourniquet with a sock. He fell asleep somehow. I don't know how, but in the morning he got 7 stitches, and
Wow.
It feels to me like my mom's a self-pres too, and it feels to me like because regardless of what the second instinct is, like self-pres is still pretty, in my own world and in my own shit, and it feels like self-pres twos, they accumulate skills and abilities that other people recognize that could be helpful, and so my mom does reach out to other people, but she is like a point of contact for people because she has certain skills. So it feels like what you're describing is that people know that they can reach out to you because you have the ability to help them with certain things that only you can do. And it's sort of like this self-pres, I know how to survive and I can help you survive, or I can help
Man, I
take
gotta get
care of
on
you.
that.
You
I
know,
would
so it's
love
like,
to be in someone's Rolodex.
so it's like if something goes down, like you're the one that they text, or if some people know that they can call my mom for certain things because they know that
right.
she does that and she can help with certain and so she's a point of contact. She's designed her life in a way that she is someone that people can reach out to for certain things that she can help them with.
Yeah, that's totally the goal. If I could just like build that Rolodex around, that makes me feel good.
My
To that.
Rolodexes of broken people that I know I can always say, "Hey, how's it going?" And it's going to be a little bit of a train wreck, and I'll be like, "It's cool. I'll help you out."
In some sense,
amazing.
both of those are penetrating into people, though, right?
Oh, totally.
Right. I mean, even on the self-pres side, it's like medicine, right? It's people's bodies, right? There's that quality of pressing through a membrane, and with Laura, it's more
I want to get
like
in their mind.
yeah.
Yeah, do you relate, Laura, like to that sense of that person that people can count on, or is what like when you said broken people, like what does that mean, and what
Yeah,
role do you play for people?
I find I often like where I know people can utilize me, and at this point in my life, it's not really serving me, so I do need to move past it. But I have people in my life that are like one of my best friends lives in England and was a social shut-in. I think he still is on like social assistance that I met through Counter-Strike, and we just started talking, and I can check in with him and see like, hey, are you trying to do school? No, you're on drugs again. Oh, cool. Like I can just touch base and see where he is. And actually, he's come a hell of a long way. And I know some of that is me just checking in and saying, hey, you said you weren't going to drink this week. How's it going? How's your mom? Oh, she fell. Like I can tap in and I know where to pick up.
Yeah, I feel like one of the things about twos that can be gift and a curse for themselves and for other people is that they have enormous enduring energy for people. Not necessarily like talking and hanging out, kind of, like you can still be a social blind too and whatever, but like collecting lost causes and being the like one lifeline for a bunch of lost causes. Do you know what I'm saying?
It would be very hard to like get rid of us.
We're easy. Like,
but
at some point, if they just get on the right track.
That is the beginning of a horror movie right there.
I just mean no. I just mean that there's like nothing that somebody could do to sort of turn a two off from helping them.
Right. Yeah.
I think is what and also, we'll
I
never
think
leave.
That there is.
That is intense.
Do you think so?
I think that there is.
That could be
I
a
think
difference
there
in
is.
social first and last too, right there.
Yeah.
And
I
maybe
think-
my one wing's pretty strong, but if I've come to help someone and I've really made a concerted effort to get to know them and like really offer my help or even just give them a thought to stew of their own. Like, I don't have to really insert myself into their life. But if they come back or either don't understand what I'm saying or have an adverse reaction, I'm probably not going to do that again. And I'm easily like, okay, they don't really need me. What I could possibly offer them, because I just gave them this really good shit, they didn't care. So I'm not going to tap my resources. But I used to be so giving. Like, especially when I was in between relationships, it was so easy for me to just not sleep. I mean, granted, self-pres blind, but I would, if someone needed to talk to me, I get this jolt of energy and I'm like, oh, I'm totally yours. Whatever you want to talk about, even if it's nothing. Like, even if it's a total waste of time, I'm like, oh, they need me. So that's what life is. Like, it would trump everything. And it got to a point where it was too much. Like, my dad had talked to me a few times when I was at the end of high school to say, Laura, your friends are taking advantage of you. People don't go this far. You need to stop. Like, I would be the DD all the time, be like, don't worry, guys. I have my car. Everyone's going to get home safe. He's like, well, you're paying for gas and you're not asking for money. And, don't you want to have fun too?
That is a weird thing. It's very hard to speak up when you feel like you're being taken advantage of, especially as a two. It's something I struggle with all the time where I'm like, I don't want to sound like I'm doing this like tit for tat thing, because I know that's also a thing.
Yep.
But it's like, you're fully taking advantage of me. And now I'm pissed. So fuck you. But for me, I'm still like, if you need anything, let me know, because I'm here.
I can imagine for very young twos, it'd be very easy for a psychologically unhealthy parent to take advantage emotionally of a young two kid, which could like really damage the kid as they become an adult.
Or make them amazing. I mean, that was definitely my upbringing. I've got.
But you have a really weird, complex relationship with your parents, right?
I do. Yeah. So my mom has some pretty complex mental health issues that have definitely gotten worse and worse over time. Divorce happened in grade 5-ish, was predominantly raised by my dad. And I think my mom was a two with 9 somewhere. And she definitely manipulated me when I was young, going through divorce, being the older sister to my younger brother. Oh, but Laura, like, I really care. That I mean well, and we're going to go to this place. And to be the person who isn't going to speak back to her and also going to protect my brother and make sure everything's kosher with dad, I was definitely being manipulated. And thankfully, I could see it more later in life because my dad, I think he's one. I can't figure him out. He's too complex, but he stood up for me. He's like, look, you shouldn't have to be making these decisions. You need to see that it's unfair that your mom puts you in this position. And of course, now that I'm in my 30s and I've been my mom's primary caregiver for a while, I have a good sense of where I know it's too much, but it's really tough for me especially family, it's tough for me to say, okay, actually, this is too much. And it's difficult to really, really insert myself because I'm so conscious now at this stage that my help has to be received in the right way or it's going to be a shit mess.
Based on what you just said, it just made me think of some sort of image management, like twos are image types. And it seems really apparent with you, Laura, because you're a social type and you're talking about, how are things going to be received. And you were on that podcast where we were talking about social types versus social last. So I want to get you guys' perspective on how your awareness of how people are viewing you and how you want to be viewed. And especially I want to get that perspective from Alexandria, since she's a social type. Like, how does your sort of, crafting your own self-image, how aware of that are you of how you want people to see you?
For me, I am aware that I'm being seen and I would like to have some, agency in that. However, I listened to the social episode and I was like crazy texting John. I was like, how could people think that you have to frame everything you say? This is fucking bananas, whatever. So while I see that it's important and like an image type like too, but the social blindness almost completely wipes it away. I
Jealous.
will not put any effort into it because I've done so much work on taking accountability as a 2, like building those boundaries, figuring out when I'm helping to help versus when I'm helping to get something. I've done all of this work about accountability, and I'm not going to start doing more work for people in the social realm of framing and context and all of this stuff. So if I'm received poorly, fuck it, I don't care anyway.
But it seems like you feel pretty comfortable with the idea that you've done enough, or you have enough skills and abilities that people do still see you to some degree like a good person.
Yeah, I want to be seen by the people that I care about as a nice, kind, good person.
Mm-hmm.
And if more people come into that fold, all the better. But I'm never actively trying to come across as a good person actively.
Right.
I think. Yeah.
People
Yeah.
get to discover that if
If
they become intimately involved with you in some kind of way.
Right. If I can get them into the witch's house and we can, yeah.
Well, Alex, I hope you don't mind me saying, and you can stop me or we can edit it out or whatever. But I remember.
Shit.
Yeah, here we go.
Image management.
Image management.
Mhm.
But I remember.
Yeah, I'm calling my lawyers immediately.
we were both a little drunk, but we were hanging out and we were talking. I said something about we were talking about two-ness, and so I said something about that we all end up by virtue of existing hurting other people, and that we
That's
can't,
awful.
and that we can't help it. Like that's part of just existing is hurting other people, and you had just a huge emotional reaction to that, and to me that felt like like as a cynical 4, I'm like, yo, we're all gonna hurt each other. But to me that felt
get a tattoo of it, baby.
But I really felt like that was like, revealing your heart in the heart of the two of, as this exquisite sort of sensitivity to other people, that it's like on some level that you're always aware of that kind of tragedy of existence, and that there's this sort of hopefulness that or striving to work in a way that love overcomes sort of the tragedy of existing or life or something like that. And I know it was just like a remarkable moment of you revealing, or through your expression or reaction, like what was really going on inside you.
I remember you telling me that. I remember it just fucking me up. And it's something that it's kind of, I've tried to adopt the like do no harm, take no shit kind of approach to things, but pretty consistently in my life, and then I work at a restaurant sometimes. I have a lot of issue when I do get upset, and I can see that like I've hurt somebody or someone doesn't like me, or things like that. And I guess it goes into the image stuff. It does weigh on me. And but then I also know I don't care that much. I think it's more about the image. I don't know if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
All right. So what I just want to say about it is like, yeah, it could be image and stuff like that, but I also felt like it was something about the essential quality of the two. And like, I don't know how much we've talked about essence, and I know essence can be kind of like a new agey, airy fairy term, but at the core of each type is this sort of, you could say naive, or you could say whatever, but it's this sort of essential feeling or quality of what feels real. And I felt like, with the two, it's like the name, at least I give it, is love. And it's not like I love you as the subject loving another subject or object or whatever, but it's that there's a inherent sense of the connectedness of everything. And that I think that twos, however they're doing, healthy or unhealthy, are connected to that sense or that promise of the possibility of being in touch with that kind of like web that underlies things.
Yeah.
I feel you. I'm going to just speak against that a little bit.
Totally.
I don't vibe with, like, if I hurt someone, I think that's intentional. And I think that that's probably necessary. If what I'm saying is going to cut them in some way, they need to heal from it. Like, I don't see it as I've done them wrong. I see it as, well, good. This was obviously fucked. So let's cut it off and
but
let's
it's in
rebuild.
service of something, right?
Usually, yeah. I mean, I'm not really engaging in things that I don't think are in service of anything. I feel like that's my default mode, but um, y- I just I don't connect with pain being bad or hurt being bad. I see it as being a necessary conduit for growth,
Mm,
which again is backed into two and progress and all the rest of it. But
mhm.
Yeah, that's a very
like,
positive outlook right there.
Plus having
Yeah.
2 assertive fixes, 7 and 8. That's kind
Yeah.
of
yeah,
uh
sorry.
yeah. Yeah.
Because some
I
pain is bad for sure.
Well, some pain is necessary. Like I think if you, I know it's like the day is always darkest before the dawn, or you don't know pain is good and all whatever. I don't want to be wanky, but you really do have to understand like sorrow and withdrawal and having not to really appreciate what you actually
Mm,
do have and to just be able to sit with not having. Like that's a very
mhm.
necessary skill in my
But what
opinion.
about hurt and wounding that is inflicted unintentionally? You know, like you're speaking of pain that's in service of something, but like
But no,
just
even if it's pain that like you woke up and shit happened and it's painful, like something happened to your life. Like this is
or even
now.
you inflicting pain because of your existence in some way, you know, like
Yeah, you
unintentionally.
inflicting the
Yeah,
pain.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do that all the time. I mean, I'm a shit. Like I will, especially if I'm in a situation where I think something is stagnant. And again, that's totally me putting that on someone else. So not really fair. But I will cause a painful situation to say, hey, have you grappled with this? Or like, what are
But
you, what
but
are your
what about
thoughts?
when it's not intentional like that though? What
Hey,
about
you're
just
Yeah,
still
just
then I don't
talking
know. I
about,
just reject it. Everything would be
yeah,
there you go.
intentional, even if I'm not
That's
aware.
what we're getting at right there.
it's
There we go.
Like it
That
doesn't exist.
she doesn't see it. That's the point.
Yeah, I don't. And that's where I really, it's so shit being a two in this situation because I deeply rely on people to just let me know. Like, I am all for course correcting or at least explaining what my intention was. I just think it's tough sometimes if people are super wounded and they come to me weeks later and I'm like, well, fuck, if you told me in the moment, we could have cleared this up and we could have saved your feelings. Or maybe I couldn't. Like, maybe you're hurt and maybe we're not a good match and I'm going to be pissed about it. But at least I know, like, it's that knowledge piece that really is shit for me.
What I notice sometimes, at least the experience, I'm not going to say this is all twos, but sometimes with especially from my perspective of, okay, here's an example of where a two, for example, like my mom has overstepped some boundary and done something that I don't think was right, and it's pointed out, then it becomes an issue of where she wants to explain to me what her intentions were and how it's that even this negative thing that happened isn't negative because the intention behind it was
100%.
good.
Was positive.
And it's like I understand where she's coming from, but it ends up feeling people end up I sometimes end up feeling that I'm being manipulated or the situation is being manipulated
Mhm.
because the negativity is not allowed to be negative because the intentions were good. It's like
Right.
you don't realize that what it looks like is you're doing these things that aren't cool, but
Mhm.
are you're able to justify them with dressing it in with or framing it with I have these really good intentions and these things that I'm doing are going to lead to a better thing. And but
Mhm.
it's not experienced that way by certain people. So there's my frustration sometimes with twos is there's just a refusal to let negative
Mhm.
things be negative because
I'm
they're always in
sorry in advance.
service of a good, ending, which doesn't necessarily align with any other person's views on the matter. So that's kind of
See,
Right.
it's funny you mentioned that because I always chalk that up to me having seven with two. Like my ability to sit with negativity, I fundamentally do not understand how to do that. And it's a really big disconnect between me and my partner because he will sit there being a sad piece of shit all day and I feel helpless and I feel awful and I can't identify with how he's feeling. And I know I just have to shut up and lay off and he's just going to be in his space. Like someone should teach me how to deal with that because I have no idea. Like one thing that is helpful and thanks to you, John, is breathing. Like if I breathe through it and I just try and sense myself and I tune into me, I know he's doing something similar on his end, and he's just connecting with his thoughts and his feelings, and he needs his space. But
Cool.
especially in a social context, like I'm useless. And I'm like, guys, I'm so sorry. That's awful. Here's what I really meant. Next subject, like steer clear of that negative, awful thing. I don't want to get stuck there.
Alexandra, do you
Yeah.
relate to that at all?
Yeah, I think that everybody is manipulative in to some extent, and I actually don't think being manipulative is the worst thing in the world.
Ayo.
I think people are manipulating each other all the time. Like social dominant people, like framing where that's all manipulation. And I don't think it's actually that it's not always bad, or such a negative term. I think that twos, it's like easier for them to slide into, oh, but my intentions were good. And so like I win, right? Like it doesn't matter. Anyway, moving on. And I think with that knowledge, I have become acutely aware of that. And I love to argue. I love arguing.
Me
It's one of my
too.
favorite things in the world. But I also have learned to like really love taking accountability now. There's like something so free. Like I can argue my way up and down, manipulate, like gaslight people, do whatever, but it's so much more freeing to just take accountability and be like, I fucked up. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do it. That doesn't matter. Okay. What else?
I feel you. I've reached that point too. I feel like if I didn't meet Cameron, I would still be arguing until everybody hated me in the whole room. Like I argue
same.
passionately. But I learned from him, it's like, it's okay to say, you know what? Actually, I was totally talking shit. That was bullshit. Sorry. Like that's an empowering thing for the self. Even though sometimes I think I say that just get out of the situation and not have people hate me. But
more manipulation.
It's an art, baby. I think that there's something very hard about taking accountability, especially being a two, being the kind of image thing and like trying to take care of everybody and like having to admit that you've failed in some way. That's rough. But I mean, it's hard for everybody. You know, I think about it, you know, with my friends and stuff, that people don't want to fucking say they're sorry. It's nuts.
I feel like if you say you're sorry, and again, this is like getting into master manipulation mode, but if you say you're sorry, then you've already taken them off the defense. But you're like, okay, I lose, but
you have to mean it.
And I do mean it. Like, I actually am sorry that they're feeling negative, but let me explain my intention.
Explain my intentions.
I'm just like your mom, Emeka. I'm sorry.
All of you are just like my mom.
Funny.
I know.
That is so funny.
I find that that's the personality habit, and so like arguing with the two when it comes to like you did this negative thing is it's so anti to everything that the two personality sees in itself, that I am a source of love, I am a source of goodness, and everything that I'm trying to do is coming from that place. And so to suggest that something that I did caused harm and wasn't good is like, no way. Absolutely no way.
Arguing with eights is nothing compared to two. Two fucking takes eights to lunch, you know?
Yeah. When it comes to just negativity, that my actions caused negativity, I feel like that's probably the most difficult thing for a two to accept, and just to own up and say, you know, listen, I think what I did here wasn't good. And I feel like that's probably feels like the most cringiest thing to even admit, you know.
Well, it's funny, as you're like talking about this, I'm having like two different versions of myself where I'm like, but I don't do anything wrong.
Literally, me too.
I'm only ever a good person. So, but then I'm also thinking of all the times that I've been such an asshole. And then it's so funny. It's like such a little mind fuck to go through.
So are you the same in me in that I really can be a piece of shit, and I totally am aware. I can be super bitchy. I can be extremely controlling. I have that self-awareness, but I think because I'm aware and because I can speak it out, my negativity and when I really fuck up, I'm like, yeah, I fucked up. You knew I was a bitch. Like, what did you think you were dealing with?
Wow. Next level.
I think that because my relationship is just so, like, had I never met Reed, I think I would have continued to be a fucking psychotic monster and totally fuck shit up and like and be super crazy, because I was, when I was like 20, 21, 22, I was such an asshole. But Reed is so stubborn and so intense in his own ways that I feel like, as I thought
Shout
I
out
was
to my
calming,
fours.
shout out to Force, as I thought I was calming him down, I was actually consistently being put in check all the time. And
In
so,
what ways? In what ways was he doing that?
in what ways of just like, well, let's see, let me make this not sound like the worst relationship of all time. In ways
Please
of
make it the
just
worst
like,
relationship of all time, please.
Yeah, we're open to it.
like, in ways, and like, with my old behavior of like, oh, I do all this for you and you can't even do this. It's like, well, you shouldn't do things because you want someone to do something back. Bitch,
Ooh.
bye. You know, things like that. He's like very blunt, he's also very good at arguing. We're very like cutthroat with each other, but very honest with each other. And so, like, being with him for 7 years, I've gotten all of this sort of feedback. And like, the nastier I thought he was, it was actually sort of a reflection on, what am I trying to do to him? What am I trying to get out of him? What is serving me and what is not? And so he's essentially, neutered me in that way. I'm a fucking simp. No. It's very good. It's just like a way that I've been able to check in and make sure that these sort of behaviors that are so innate to me can be worked on and grown.
That's really
from.
commendable.
cool.
It's really difficult for me to see where I'm doing something in service of myself because I don't see it. Like, I really can't see that I'm being self-serving because I'm not usually doing that intentionally. And of course, like,
Right. Of course not.
like Cameron is the sweetest. Love, like, he's like angelically amazing. He's not gonna tell me when I'm fucking up. Let me say it so delicately later that I'm like, oh yeah, that whatever. Like, it's not in my face enough to say like, hey, actually that was really selfish, or I don't actually need any of these things. Like, nobody gives me that feedback, and I do really want that. I don't think that would hurt me. I feel like I would take it and
Laura,
add it to
you're
my
being
arsenal and make
selfish
it
as
about it.
fuck.
I don't think I am, John.
And so it begins.
And so it begins.
Do you think, Laura, that you as a younger two would have taken that criticism well?
Oh no.
Okay.
No.
All right. That's
I
what
was the kid
thinking.
who was like, hi, I'm Laura. Do you want to be my friend? And if they said
Aw.
no, I would just cry. And
Oh,
like, whatever. Kindergarten
Whatever.
woes. But
kindergarten.
I feel like the people who I've vibed with over time, or that I've grown a connection with, it's been mostly me just maintaining a space that they came at me, and me just digging into them and finding friendship.
I feel like twos, I mean, different types in their own different ways represent this, but this is not like, I'm not trying to rag on twos by any means. It might sound like
Shut up,
am.
John.
Whenever you
Literally
A little
preface that,
bit.
you're about to rag on
Favorite
us.
thing to
That's what he
do.
says right before he rags on twos.
Exactly.
Card. My mom's a two. So
Yeah.
I'm getting out some old aggression. But but so like I think that there is a quality that twos hold close to their heart that feels like it's too, like, almost too cheesy or too sincere, like, or naive or something like that. Like, there's this feeling that sometimes I get with twos in my life where they kind of feel like they got to hold back because there's this perspective on life or reality that feels like it's unbearably naive in the face of how dark life actually is, or like how cynical people are, but on some level they still want to be like, they can't give up on it, and and to their credit, and then they offer kind of like a doorway for, they keep something burning for the possibility of having a line to a kind of uncommon quality of acceptance for other people that it's like, I think they feel a little shy about. And I feel like sometimes it gets lost or gets buried or it gets hidden under a lot of personality stuff and manipulation or whatever. But underneath it all, if you can really get to it, like, I know my mom, when she gets drunk enough, just gets like extremely like she'll kind of like, I'm in quarantine right now in Atlanta where my family is, and she'll sometimes get like a little drunk, and she'll like come to me and be like, I'm just so happy we're all together. And and it's like
Yep.
this weird
Ugh.
spill that my mom doesn't normally give or come out with, and so it's interesting because I kind of see this tension in a lot of twos where it's like,
Mhm.
twos can be very sociable and know how to hang out with people and talk to people, but on the other hand, there's this hidden part of themselves that feels like it's almost like naive, or they think it's naive or something, but it feels like it's like
Totally relate.
yeah, okay, yeah,
I can explain some of that, at least for how that is in myself.
please.
I love people, like people who I haven't met, like you guys on this chat. Myself that wants to stay protected and not want to be rejected and all the rest of it doesn't say anything, but like I love this connection. I would do so much for you. Like if you were to get me drunk, I would be the exact same way. I'd be like, I love this. And look at we're all together and look at this connection. And like you give so much to my life. And like I seek some of my identity in how my connections are with other people. That's a huge piece of my life and who I am. And it's a really vulnerable thing to own up to. It kind of stays, it's totally in my core. It's like my bloodstream, but I can't show that freely because it's intense and it can
Hmm.
freak people out, and it
Hmm.
may not be, I mean, it may not be received well. I say that way too often, but it's there and it powers my machine, but I don't really want people to see it because it's a lot.
I think that I constantly get in trouble with people for this like undercurrent of hope, or like it's not so bad, or like
Mhm,
if we all just
mhm.
understand each other's points, then there's a meeting ground, or like, yeah, this whole situation is fucked. Read is so dark. Everything is dark. Dark. Okay, I get it. And I'm like, don't say that. Don't say that. They're nice, whatever. It's like I'm constantly have, no matter what anyone says, will have this like little door of hope, of just like
Mhm,
good hope. Because if it's not there, then everything is as shitty as you fours and whatever like to say it is, and
mhm.
you fucking win. Like,
Yep,
okay.
100%. I 100% agree with that.
Um, but it's very hard for me to believe that I'm loved or cared for, or it blows my mind that people have ever talked about me when I'm not there. Like
Mhm.
I believe that I cease to exist as soon as I step away from them.
Like that gets into some of that rejection type stuff.
Before, yeah, I would definitely want to
Did
talk
I
about
just show
rejection.
myself?
Well, so all right. So first thing I wanted to say to all the twos that might be listening to this is that with the twos in my life, I'm not a very effusive person, but sometimes I want to take love and put it as like a baseball and then shove it down their fucking throats so they fucking get
Oh
it
God.
because it's them exhausted by whatever. It's like just fucking take it.
It still
But
wouldn't work, John.
I know, no, I
No.
know. They just vomit it up or
Heavy
whatever.
gag
And be
reflex.
I
like,
know.
Yeah.
wait, why don't you like me?
Yeah. But yeah, so so we've done a series where we did 5 and then soon to be released 8 and then 2, and 5, 8 and 2 are what are called rejection types, and these are rejection, attachment, and frustration are the 3 dominant affects, emotional sort of dynamics that underlie what is called object relations theory. And object relations is the idea that the personality forms as a subject, meaning the individual, you, whoever, in relation to an object, usually mom or dad, and that there is a predominant affect that gets established very early in life between the subject and the object. And so rejection, attachment, frustration. So 8, 5, and 2 rejection types, and what that means is that you pick up on that you or your needs are somehow rejected, and that in place of being able to be yourself and your needy self, that you have to offer something to other people. And so
Mhm.
5 does that through the lens of the mental center, meaning they end up feeling like, well, I'm not really wanted for being me, so I got to offer my mental energy. 8 does that in relation to the instinctual center, the body center, not instinctual center, where they offer a lot of that body gut energy, that assertive energy. And for 2, there is a rejection of like autonomy, a rejection of feeling like I can be my own independent self apart from other people. And it feels like I have to reject certain parts of myself and be giving and loving and offer heart energy. And
Mhm.
so I wanted to see or ask about how you guys experience that, if that resonates, and what your
Mhm.
perspective is about specifically with 2. I feel like it can be hard for twos to just chill with other people. That there sometimes has to be this dynamic for them to feel comfortable where they're offering something, or
Mhm.
teaching, or helping, or giving, and
Totally.
how that shows up in your life and what that feels like.
I'll speak to that briefly because it's totally something that I'm feeling in these days of quarantine. I'm not a sit still type. I'm not a let's just hang out. I'm like, for what? Like hang out and do what? Like there's the next step is always right on my tongue and always what I'm preoccupied with. But I mean, I forget that I'm a rejection type. I just don't see it very often in my life. But when you highlight it of not being in touch with your body or not um not being able to differentiate myself from people. Like my whole identity is through people and how people use me. I don't know what I am on my own.
I think from a very young age, I was doing things like that where it's like I knew that my mom would love me better if I cleaned the house or did the laundry or did like was a service to her. And I knew my dad would be happy and love me more if I was happy and praising him. And so I sort of, from a very early age, sort of figured out how to get love from people by doing things for
Mhm.
them, and that just totally solidified in me.
And you felt like if you didn't do
It's
those
It'd be
things, then
useless. There's no point of
y
hanging out with me if I can't offer you something. Sounds so
yeah,
bad.
that's intense
or
right there.
like if I fail to show up for somebody, or if I
Oh,
make
Lord.
someone upset with me, or try to demand that I have needs or create those boundaries, and it's terrifying to me that they may not contact me again. And then I know it's like, well, then fuck them. They shouldn't be in your life. But it's a true terror for me to
Mhm.
accept that I have needs and then have that person be like, well, you didn't before, so go fuck yourself.
I feel like
So
my
if
interpretation
yeah.
on that is I don't ever like I'm never in a situation where my needs are at the forefront, like ever. My needs are yours. Like I don't have my own
Yeah.
needs because you're the one who's needing something. Like everything's kind of bounced off and I don't know
Hmm.
what it would be like to really know my needs. I'm relying on you to know my needs because I sure don't.
Yeah. Yeah, they get really entangled, and it
Mhm.
can be very hard to discern where you are and where I am when it's
Mhm.
like that.
And
And
I feel
so
like it toes this line of if I'm only preoccupied on other people's needs, I'm inherently worthless because I'm only in service of other people. And it's that triggering, like if my kind of what you mentioned earlier, Alex, if my
mhm,
friend said, well, you didn't show up for me, oh my God, that would rip my heart out. Like
mhm,
I that's my whole duty in life is to show up for you. How
right.
could you ever debase me like that? Like really, like
Now you must die.
yeah,
Now you
now you're
gotta die.
done.
Yeah.
So we've touched a little bit, like we have not explicitly, but some of the sort of connection between 8 and 2. We've sort of hinted at it, but part of the movement from 2 to 4 is what you guys do and who you are when you're not in relation to other people. And so, what are those things that you do that connect you with yourself, or that like who are you when you're not in connection to anybody else?
I think that I'm lucky, since from a young age my dad threw me in dancing, and so I have this other sort of artistic endeavor that I get to do and be. So I see myself as a dancer or a performer, or but just sitting alone, I'm not sure I spend most of my time thinking about people.
Yep, big same there. I mean, even
Yeah.
all my hobbies, like when I've gone through trying to rack them up, like I really don't have hobbies. They're like scuba diving, which you can't do by yourself, or rock climbing, which you can't do by yourself. Like they're all things that are so interwoven with people that, like, I've learned guitar. I'm not going to sit there and play it to myself. Like that's lame. Like they're all things that are deeply like tied to other people. Like I don't have like I like to learn about personality stuff and like self-discovery and that kind of critical thinking piece, but it's not to really dig into my own brain. It's so that I can use that to understand other people.
Uh-oh.
Like, yeah,
Uh-oh.
uh,
Manipulate other people better.
not
Oh, that's
manipulate,
actually
get to
very
know them.
very interesting. So
Okay.
like the one of the ways I look at the Enneagram is through the division of the centers, right? And so like 2 is an emotional type, but they use the body center to turn emotion into action, so helping and etc. But types that are on the hexad, meaning the 1, 4, 2, 8, 5, 7, 1 symbol on the Enneagram, have a dynamic where one of the centers is, you could say, repressed, or they're out of touch with it. And for the 2, it's the head center. I think 2s generally experience themselves as thinking a lot and engaging their minds a lot, but a lot of it is thinking about other people, or thinking about things that are in relation to other people. And what is sort of avoided in the mental center from this point of view is spaciousness, emptiness, and just sort of solitude. And even if that means I'm physically alone, but I'm not considering other people.
Well, John, I remember you telling me this at some point, and I just had like the biggest eye roll of all time. And I remember saying to you, well, then what the fuck would I think about? And you were like, that's the point. You'd be free.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was kind of like, but I like it.
Right.
I still feel a little defiant about it.
Yeah, I also do, because I don't know what it is to have spaciousness in my mind. Like, spaciousness in my mind is I'm sleeping. I don't know.
Love it. I was just gonna say, I see like a balance would be better. The balance of thinking of others, the balance of just experiencing yourself. I spend a lot of time thinking about how I feel and how does my body feel, and like where do I hold myself and where am I existing, things like that. But what's not there is just being, it's like my body, my thoughts, my feelings. Oh, me. Oh, how did they feel that one time when I said this thing? Oh my God, I should tell them I'm sorry, whatever.
Right.
But there isn't a lot of just existence unless I'm sleeping or, watching TV.
Even TV, I'm like taking those
That's true. I was
situations
gonna
and being
say,
like,
I was
oh,
like,
I know what this is like, or like, this isn't portrayed properly. They would
Do
have been
you-
like this. Their character's inconsistent.
do you watch reality TV?
I fucking hate it.
You
I
hate
watched
it?
Love
I
is
fucking
Blind.
love
Oh,
it.
I
No,
cannot
Love is
relate.
Blind is too rough. No,
It's mindless and it's fake. It's too fake. If it was more genuine and like actually filmed, I could probably deal.
I
but
fucking love the Kardashians, the Real
Oh, no.
Housewives. Yes.
Nope.
See,
Big nope.
this is where a social blind person learns social skills.
Oh my God, no. Do not learn your social skills from
late.
the Kardashians.
Too late.
It's too late. It's way too late. Yeah.
Oh,
The
no.
degenerates of society, that's where we learn our skills.
Yes.
Oh, no.
They're the only ones who will have us.
Yep.
I was going to ask, because you guys are both sexual second, and I've been curious about, because I understand Tunis from the perspective of self-pres. It's very literal, like literally helping you live and survive and all that. And with social, I've been picking up some things from Laura and how she wants to be there for so many people, to be a point of contact and help people progress. But I want to get into get you guys' perspective on how your two-ness shows up in the attraction sexual instinct, and how, like, have you noticed your own patterns with your sexual instinct from the perspective of two with your partners or whatever?
Totally. Yeah. So how that shows up in my life, and again, it really depends on the person. I make myself something that they crave. Like it's this, I can figure out the exact way to do the right thing and put the right thought in his head to be so desired, or to have, like, especially one of my exes, I think, was all social sexual, but it was to the point of I could look at him, and I kind of still do that. I can just look, and it's, you say nothing, you do nothing, and it's that intimate connection of, okay, we're gonna fuck now. Like it just is quickly to that I've crafted this response, almost like I know the person so well, or at least it feels like I know them so well, that I can read their body and know what that is. Like it takes the social away and just wants to merge. Like I feel like I'm whole if they can connect to me in how I'm trying to reach out to them, because everything
I'm
I
terrified and aroused.
Is it like your main?
Same.
Is it like your main line tapping into their desire, like their sexual
Kinda.
desires?
Yeah, and
Like you
'cause
just
I'm
know
not,
what they want.
Yeah, I feel like I don't have a sense of my needs like that. I really need to do a lot more development of understanding my emotions and my kind of driving feelings because I don't feel them very much. But I I know if if I want to connect, there's this like different realm of needing to be deeply satiated in my heart. And so I kind of pierce through people. Like I set up the situation for them to be pierced by me. I'm not the type to come at them. Like I'm not a overt force. I'm very, if you catch the nuance, you're sucked into it and we're going.
I don't know the answer to the question, but I've always gotten what I want. And I've just known that. If I
How?
want
How do you
somebody,
get? How do
Yeah,
you
I
get
feel
them?
you.
I thought I was a witch. Like it's just magic. I don't know what I'm
Yeah.
doing.
So is it that you're
Honestly,
sensing
I'm the
into
same.
what they want? Do you know what they want, and you're able to mirror that, or how are you getting what you want?
Perhaps. I don't know.
It's
I
not
think
even conscious. I so feel you.
yeah, I feel like I'm like, "Oh, I want this person, so I'm gonna okay, I get them." That's what happens, and when I
Yeah.
decide that I want them, I can have them. Or
I
if I
feel like
decide
it's
that
got to be a response because it's this exact same thing for me, even to the point of like, I have met and had a really intense interaction with every celebrity I could have wanted. Like that's a very weird thing. Like I've caught kisses with Noel Gallagher and Alex Turner. Like those are big
Mm,
big
Whoa!
people to do
mm,
that to, which
mhm,
and again, it's not like I sat there thinking about it. I was like, ooh,
right.
this would be cool. And I send a signal and it's received. Like I
Yeah, it
just
feels
never get denied.
yeah, it feels like an Animal Planet-y kind of like
Yeah.
pheromone kind of
Yeah.
thing that happens where it's
A
like,
cosmic alignment that's like, yep, I
yes.
One way to frame
Yes.
this, one way to frame this is if the middle instinct is a comfort zone, right? So and we are often kind of cocky in the middle instinct, and
Ooh,
and so
that's
and so
don't call
if
us out,
two
David.
is and so if two is pride, right? So then you got pride and cockiness in the sexual instinct zone, right?
I
So
can definitely
you
see
just
that.
you just know it's going to happen. I mean, it's like extreme pride, right?
Mhm.
And like
yeah.
you're going to get
Yeah.
it, and it's not even a question. It's already
Again, I
mine.
don't take it as pride because I reject that
Yeah,
fundamentally.
I know.
But
That's why I keep.
We
That's why I
know.
keep emphasizing it.
But
we dig.
based on what I've been hearing, I'm trying to map like what you guys have been saying about like your normal mode of trying to be a source of help for people, and just you don't even have an awareness of your own needs. You're really tapped into what other people
Mhm.
want and what they need. So when I think about what you're saying with what you guys are saying with the sexual drive and attraction, it seems like you have this confidence that you can get people because you're already tapped into what they
Mhm.
desire, and you can
Mhm.
you're just that. You can become that, like whatever that is, and merge with what they want. And
Their
why wouldn't
needs.
they want that? Why
I
wouldn't they
have a
want that?
I have a way to describe it because I've been able to been able to have enough experience to figure it out.
Oh.
It's a need. Like if I know that they need something, I am 100% that. Or at least I
Ah,
have that in my arsenal of like, well, I know they need this, so I can use that when I need to.
There's
I do think there is a tool to that. Like, oh, I know that this person likes this kind of thing. And
Mhm.
so like I can put that on or I can do that or I can use what they want as a tool to get closer so that they can see me and then like
Mhm.
boom 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 like
mm-hmm.
and
there's
I'm hot, or whatever. Like it's
Now we're
there's
married.
now we're married. Oh, I'm
Honestly,
pregnant. Yeah.
I am married.
there's also this sort of like weird reality bending thing that I think each type has in its own way. Like what Laura's speaking to, it's like I imagine that I could get this with these certain people that I'm desiring, and then it just happens. It's like eights can do these like bizarre against reality kind of feats of will. I mean, it's just like like every type has its own
Yeah,
weird thing.
magic.
So
Yeah,
interesting.
it's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
really like a magic thing that every type has for in its own way, and it doesn't really get
Mhm.
talked about. Like threes can do just
We
amazing
always
things.
land on our feet.
Always.
We always land on our feet. We don't even
Always.
fucking know how. We just do it.
Totally.
I'm getting so many emails from threes that are like motivating me on how to stay on top of the pandemic and be even more successful because of the
Oh my
pandemic.
god, same. And I'm like, y'all
off.
threes need to fucking take a nap.
It's
that
like
they're
this
doing so.
weird supernatural power that like sort of actually is a real thing for each type. It's very fascinating. I don't know how to
So
put words to it.
perceptive.
Yeah.
Thank you. Nancy,
That's the fourth superpower right there. To see through you.
Nancy,
What? Yeah.
I want to know if you had any questions or anything because you've been kind of silent.
Oh, well, put the pressure on me, why don't you?
Yes.
I know that you'll adapt and overcome.
And overcome.
And be magic.
Even
Land
better.
on your feet.
Great. Great. Well, so to be honest, this one has been kind of hard for me to listen to because I have.
Oh, I'm so offended.
No.
You
You
two
guys
have
should
hurt
be-
her. You
Oh,
have
dear
brought
Lord.
harm to her.
Oh, no.
Shut
Your
Apologize,
presence,
please.
just your
No.
existence.
If you would
Apologize.
listen
Didn't even have to
to
say
me.
anything.
I'm listening, Nancy.
See, they listen to me.
Laura's the
Nancy,
only
I'm
one.
just making space for you.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
okay, whatever. So so I have two in my life, and this is making me feel as though the relationship will never be all that good.
Oh my
So
gosh, you're hurting me.
Oh my God.
Oof. Oof.
I'm
Felt
waiting
that.
for it to get worse somehow. I'm waiting for it to get worse.
I know. But to explain to you two to make you feel better, it's like possibly my future mother-in-law. So
Hmm,
it's just
they're always tough.
yeah.
I also
and
okay. I think that there's a generational thing with twos though
there is, yeah. So
Yeah,
it
I
kind
can
of
agree with that.
that's
Yeah.
showing up here.
it confuses me. Like specifically Southern women
Ooh,
are very two all the
Mhm.
time, and I'm like, so are you a two or are you just being two?
a
Right.
bitch.
Dove. Kind of. So it just there was a lot coming up, so I was just sort of sitting in it. So
And so, what made you feel like you couldn't deepen your relationship?
I feel like she doesn't like me.
Ask her, confront her, and then she'll have to reject it, and then she'll like you.
Front
What
her.
I think
But
we
I
talked
don't-
about it,
yeah.
Nancy.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Nancy, you're kind of competition for the
Exactly.
in relation to the Oedipal relationship she
Mhm.
has with your
Freud.
With
boyfriend.
son,
Yeah.
aka my boyfriend, my partner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if
so
you can get on her page and be something and show what you need to her, she will gravitate towards you.
You mean like become an avatar
Yeah.
for her?
No, like be vulnerable. Show that you don't have
Need
it all figured
something.
out, and that so that
Yeah,
show
because
that
Nancy,
you can-
your thing is tough, self-sufficient chick.
yeah,
Right.
you don't
and
It,
so,
need
like,
her.
so she
it
can't
made
see.
me instantly nauseous for you to say be vulnerable with her. It's like
I'm sorry. Even just fake it a little. Like it
that's
sounds
true. I
lame,
can
but
do that. No, I can
She's good at that.
I can
Like
be
it-
manipulative too.
do that. You underestimate these threes. Go ahead.
I mean, selfishly, it can be really rewarding to show even just a little bit of vulnerability and see how someone tries to nurture that. Like, especially in a mother-in-law. I think my mother-in-law also has 2 and 9.
Mm. Oh,
She-
that's a lot.
I mean, she's amazing. She's like the ultimate female version of my husband, and man, she's phenomenal. But it took me like offering something up and taking a calculated risk for us to really connect and like really kind of let the wall fall, even though I don't need her. Like, there's no inherent need for her in my life, but it helped make a connection that I can get so much more from, which I think I mean, I don't know what motivates you specifically, but if you can know your future mother-in-law on a deeper level, you're going to know your future spouse on a deeper level too. I'm offering you advice you didn't ask for. Sorry.
No, this was kind of a form of a question, but so I was asking for advice. So you're good. That's an interesting point. I have always felt like there's like something I'm going to have to do, and I'm like, I could either make it really bad and just like never talk to her again.
I mean, or she'd take it upon herself to make it really shitty to kind of rally you to do something so she can make something of the relationship. I feel like that'd be worse. You should have the
But I
power.
think it's always best to just like if you see it for what it is, you know that she has different motivations for acting the way that she is, and it's probably tied into this weird sexy sun thing that's going on. So if you see it for what it is, you might as well save all of you're not going to prove anything. You're not going to change her.
There's
but
she can't sit with the space of there being nothing there. She's got to
I'm not
serve
saying
something.
that. I'm just saying that the idea that she can do anything with incredible meaning that will change the situation, that's false. But you can go about it one of two ways. You can, never speak to her again, and then that will cause problems in your relationship. Or you can, use the empathetic skills that you have in order to sort of, give her what she wants a little bit and mold it around and sort of build this barrier for all of you so that Christmases and whatever are bearable.
Okay, see, I think I need more twos in my life. Because that's the advice I needed. Because everyone else is like, well, fuck her. And then it's like,
and
that's
also
not helpful.
And also fuck her,
Well,
but
yeah.
at the same time, like, as fun as it would be to walk in the house and be like, fuck you, like, there's a practicality to doing that. Yeah.
Right. See, I need this, like, I need someone else on my level of manipulation.
These are the relational experts.
But
for the greater good. It's for the greater good.
See? Yeah. The manipulation for the greater good. I need more of that because I'm really good at manipulating for in the other direction. I'm like, you want to hate me? I'm gonna.
But that's fun too.
Yeah, see, you're good at, as David said, being like bad bitch, furiosa, like doing your own thing.
Yeah, I need the other soft side, the 3-wing 2 to come in.
Yeah, with my mom, I have a line to 2, and I've learned over the years that she's always like sniffing around for what she can help with, and it's kind of her way of getting involved, and so I have to be careful. Like, you can't tell her about this situation in your life because she's gonna want to help you with it, and her help could be a mess. But it's just being strategic about like certain things that you want to let her know because she's going to want to help. And so, it's like, this is how she relates to people, is through helping you. So a 2 that you don't offer any opportunities where they feel like they can help you is a 2 that doesn't feel like they have any place in your life. Yeah.
Oh, well, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I always feel like anything. So it's weird because I feel like there's this like large gap between us where like she is very distanced, but then if there's anything I need, she just jumps to it, and I'm like, but you don't even like me. Why are you doing this?
It's the only way she can relate to you. That's it.
Yeah,
right
she can't place herself with you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this is very helpful for me. So I was just trying to take in as much Tunis as I could. See, helping me out forever.
Something good happened. That's amazing.
But we got to wrap up. This is enough.
Yeah, we do.
All right.
An hour and 45 minutes.
Oh, the abrupt social laugh.
No, we can.
And we're done.
Thank you for coming to the show. We're glad that
we think you all are wonderful. We give you flowers and hearts.
Great. You helped everybody
so much. Guys,
we love awesome. You guys.
My heart is full.
Love you too.
We don't fucking believe you anyway.
But I love you all the same.
It's because they aren't very good at manipulation.
I have more hope in the world that things will be great and turn out well for everyone. Even though 23,000 people are dying, I believe that it's going to be great. This is for a greater purpose.
It's for the best.
It's for the best.
Stop.
I see flowers, okay? I see sunlight.
Laura and Alex, thank you for coming and being on the pod
thank you for
and sharing with us.
Very helpful.
It was very interesting and illuminating. And for listeners, if you like our stupid podcast, please rate it and review it on like Apple or whatever, the iPod app.
Anywhere you can find your podcast.
Anywhere you can find it, but rate us or whatever so that we get bumped up a little bit, because when you search Enneagram, like it's way behind all these shitty Christian Enneagram podcasts.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Give us some love, please.